I need to stretch more. Hi, welcome. It is finally getting into cozy weather. We had the autumn equinox a couple of days ago. The temperature has finally started to drop, and I'm sorry that that's completely wrong for 90% of the Earth's population. So I thought this week, to celebrate getting into the better weather, universally accepted best weather, I thought we could tackle my mending pile. I recently found out about Sashiko. If you don't know, it is a Japanese embroidery technique that has been used for centuries. So layers of fabric are added to an existing garment or item when it's getting threadbare with these gorgeous running stitches in different patterns. And so my Pinterest just became this full rabbit hole of visible mending. I'd seen visible mending years ago. It's not something I've ever dabbled in because it's not something design-wise that I've ever really appreciated. And I don't know if it's growing up or if it is that people have gotten amazing at visible mending, but now I am seeing some styles of it that I love. I find them so satisfying to look at, and the idea that I could make, in particular, my knitwear items last longer is very exciting. So yeah, I've never done darning before. What a ridiculous skill for me to not have. I am really excited to just this week have a really cozy, relaxing mending time. If you've got anything that you've been putting off mending, you've got a button you need to replace or a hem that needs to be redone, go grab it. Also get a snack and a hot drink, okay? Because we're gonna be very cozy. We might even do some baking this week. I don't know. That'll last to the good strawberries. I need to make some strawberry syrup to last Thomas for the winter. He's allergic to the ones from the shops. And I'm also probably going to play a bit of Skyrim because it turns out that lowers my heart rate and chills me out like nothing else. Did you know you could fish in Skyrim? I know it's a super old game, but it's still my favorite of all time. In an attempt to make myself relax, I have set a goal of trying to complete the campaign by the end of the year because it turns out I've never finished the game. Anyway, this video is not about Skyrim. It just might be in there later. So do you want to see what I'm repairing / mending / upcycling? I don't know how to say it in a way that isn't weird. This cardigan, it was a very exciting op shop find. It was $9, but I had points, so it only cost me $6. It is massive. It won't fit in the screen. It is from the men's section. It is 100% wool. It has some holes in it that need to be repaired, and I would like to dye it a color that is not the same as my skin and walls. And then I think we're going to embroider some stars over the holes. Also, this cardigan gives me practical magic vibes. I've had this a very long time. This jumper has, because I have worn it so much, worn through the elbows a little bit. It's getting a little bit threadbare, so we're going to darn the elbows to reinforce them. These shorts are going to be my Sashiko repair. I have never found a pair of shorts that fit me this well. These need to last me a very long time. And as you can see, we've got some very threadbare pieces here, so we're going to do a Sashiko repair on those. This is one of Thomas's jumpers. It has a snag on the back. We have a hole. This is not a particularly exciting one, but it's one that I really need to get done because as we're getting into the colder weather, he really does need all of his jumpers. He only has like 3. This is another fairly boring one, but these are one of my favorite pairs of tailored pants. They're 100% wool, and the hem has just started to come down, and honestly, I've been working on the hem for about a year. I keep putting it off, and I just figured that while we're getting everything else done in this video, let's get those done. This is what I'm saying, body doubling. Let's help each other out. This jumper here is 100% cashmere. It is incredibly comfortable. However, I just don't love the color. It's this this speckly natural color. Again, skin and walls blended. So I would love to try and dye this one a darker color as well. This jumper, it's in such terrible condition. This one is also 100% cashmere. It is the softest thing I have ever worn. It is amazing. However, it's got a lot of holes in it, like a lot. And I also never wear this as an outer layer, partially because of all the holes and partially because I really don't like this color. Shouldn't have bought it in blue. It was available in black, but it was more expensive. Lesson learned, just buy the black one in future. We have a lot to get through. So we're gonna start with dyeing. I picked up Japanese eco dye. I had planned to buy 3 boxes of black dye, which would have dyed 750 grams of fiber, but they only had 2 in stock, so I had to pick another color for one of the jumpers, so I went with olive green as it's kind of the only other color that I like wearing. Now, I didn't expect the knits to go black, maybe a dark gray, but if you're better at visualizing colors than me, you might see where this is going. This is able to dye fabrics at 30 degrees, so that is very important because what we're dyeing is wool, and it will shrink if we put it in hot water, and it will felt if we agitate it too much. So this should be interesting. Welcome to the laundry. It's very small. Let's get into it. I prepared the dye bath by dissolving both bottles of the black dye in a pot. It should have been enough to dye 500 grams of fiber, but I forgot to weigh the knitwear, so that information is kind of useless. I measured out the water for the dye bath. I couldn't find my thermometer, so I just tried to guess what 30 degrees was by feel, which I'm wondering now if that was my big mistake. I felt like I was following the instructions pretty well. I added the vinegar and then the dye, and I submerged the cardigan and the blue jumper. By the way, the blue jumper should have been wet first. The cardigan was, and the dye seeped into it really easy. It was looking really dark and promising, but then I committed a critical error and stirred it way too much. The instructions say to stir it for 20 to 30 minutes, but it's wool and I should have known better. While those were soaking, I prepared the green dye bath. I chose the taupe jumper for this because I thought it would make for a better green than the blue jumper would. I did a better job of not stirring that one. It was all kind of in vain though, because when I rinsed the jumpers after the 30-minute soak, they weren't looking very black. In fact, most of the dye came out of the jumpers and went onto my nails. I really think now that the dye didn't exhaust onto the fabric because the temperature was too low. Alright, well, as I am attempting to drain these out and it's very apparent that they have not gone black, they are barely darker, that's when I read this little part here that says that I should extend the dyeing time by 30 to 60 minutes to make it darker. That's a bummer. Hopefully they'll just turn out a little bit better than what they were. Or maybe worse. Dyeing is so difficult. I rolled the jumpers in old towels to squeeze out the excess water, and it became apparent that there was still dye on the cardigan. Well, in the cruel light of day, I would say that has done absolutely nothing. They look a little bit more muted, but I think that that may have been hours of work and a whole bunch of expensive dye and black fingernails for almost no change. I'm gonna leave the green one in for a couple of hours. Like what harm could it possibly do? We'll see what happens with that. I'm gonna go make dinner and play some Skyrim. Aww, bucket. So I'd put the cardigan on the clothes horse and the sleeve was touching this shirt. This is why I hate dyeing. The cardigan isn't black, but the shirt is. So the update is, I was able to catch a glassfish, but not a goldfish. I'm trying to catch a goldfish for a girl in Whiterun. That's the Skyrim update. I think the only thing I have successfully dyed is my fingers, which is pretty gross looking, especially because this is a video where I'm gonna do a lot of hand sewing, probably with some close-ups. I have washed my hands so many times with really hot water, it's not coming out. I apologize. So yeah, the jumpers are drying, some better than others, one really bad. We'll take a look at them probably tomorrow when they've actually dried. And for now, I thought that we could get started on one of the darning projects. I've tried to take care of this. I have always hand washed it. Unfortunately, Thomas did throw it in a machine one time and that's when it kind of shrunk and felted, and you can see. So this is what most of the jumper looks like. Here under the arm, this is the only spot where it didn't felt, and you can see the defined yarns a lot easier. So yeah, the rest of it has kind of mushed together. I'm gonna have a little look at Pinterest and figure out which style of darning I want to do. Let's go. We've got the candle, we've got our mug, we've got the lamps ready to go, we've got the fish. Super cozy. Speaking of cozy, I may have just gotten distracted on Pinterest. Okay, well look at the visible mending. So because it's an elbow, you can't fit like a darning mushroom in there, and also I don't own one. But I do have a tiny little pocket-sized notebook, so I'm gonna grab that. There we go. I really can't tell if that's wonky. It looks wonky behind me. I actually have 5 bowls of these, and it's set aside to make me the chunkiest cut. No, can't think of the word. Knocked my mic off. I have 5 bowls of these. This is the 10-ply. I have set it aside to make like the chunkiest scarf ever, inspired by this cardigan here. And I don't know when I'm ever gonna do it, but I've got the stuff. This is definitely thicker than the yarn of the jumper. I'm gonna see if I can make this yarn fit into this size needle with my super cute little needle threader. I picked it up from Draper's in Melbourne for this project kind of on a whim, and it turns out it was essential. Yes. Oh my God, that makes life so much easier. How have I gone this entire like 20 something years of sewing and not had one of these? I don't know how much it matters, like where through the knits you go up and down. We're gonna figure it out together. And not catch the yarn on fire by getting the candle. Jesus. I had no idea what I was doing at this stage. It was one of those situations where I just kind of looked at some photos of darning on Pinterest and went, I could do that. So to begin with, the rows were too far apart and the weaves were pretty uneven. But I was having a good time, and that's what this is all about, really. Hi! Can hear your tail going. Once the horizontal stitches were done, I moved on to the vertical ones, and I really struggled with the whole in and out thing here too. I think that the mild felting that has happened to this jumper was making it harder to see and divide the stitches, but also I didn't know where the stitches were supposed to go, so Oh, do you call them jumpers where you are? I was watching an English YouTuber who mentioned that this isn't what other countries might call it. Like you call it a sweater or a pullover. Let me know because I can't stop saying jumper. I found that for the vertical rows, I really needed to go through the knits and the pearls. Otherwise the weave ended up being too loose and not really achieving the purpose of darning. Lucky for me, this yarn is incredibly thick, so I was able to save it. Once I'd covered up the hole, all I had to do was turn the sleeve inside out and weave in the ends. Okay, just ignore her, don't worry about that. That was super relaxing. I struggled a little bit with it at first. I'm sure I can probably cover that in some voiceover actually. So yeah, voiceover person. No, that's me. So I think what we could do next is go and make some strawberry syrup for Thomas's milkshakes. I know it's weird, but just go with it. Okay, so I made this like a week or two ago for the first time and it was amazing. It tasted similar to the strawberry syrup on a McDonald's sundae, but I couldn't remember how I did it. It's strawberries and sugar, how hard could it be? Once they'd cooked down for a while, I tried mashing them with a whisk. I definitely didn't do that last time. And then when I started to strain it, it was looking way too thin and it was also too sweet. So I blitzed it and I was like, oh yes, that's what I did last time. And then it was more like a puree, so I don't think this is actually how I did it. Go hang out with your papa. He actually left. Good morning. Let's talk about the dyeing fiasco. So this is the speckled, like, grey one. I'm not sure how it's gonna translate to camera. I feel like from a distance, it almost looks like an olive green, but up close, it looks like someone took a photo of this jumper and then applied a green filter to the photo. It's really weird because I included some black in it. It's really muddy looking, like it kind of just looks dirty and I hate it. I hate it so much. The blue one, again, it kind of just looks dirty. I have found an Australian company called Craft Colour and I asked them about what I have messed up and got a suggestion, which is a wool specific dye, which has all the auxiliaries included. So yeah, I have ordered a black dye that's hopefully gonna get these to like a charcoal. I don't expect them to go black. They have maintained their softness, which is lovely. They haven't felted, which I was very concerned about. So yeah, I'm gonna try and dye these ones again because I really do want them to be something that I'm gonna reach for and not just something I wear underneath other jumpers in the middle of winter. This one, I actually like how it turned out. It's really not that different from when it went in. It has felted slightly. I think I stirred it too much. So yeah, we're not gonna attempt to dye this one again at this stage. I'm gonna leave it. We will have a look through my yarn stash and see what colors are gonna work with this new color. But I did think that to kick off the morning, we're gonna start with something really simple and we're going to hem my black, my brain, why did it stop working just then? Wool pants. You know, I thought about calling this video like a cozy autumn vlog or a cozy mending vlog, and then I realized that I don't have the capacity to film in a way that feels cozy. It's just gonna feel chaotic and stupid. I'm probably gonna get croissant crumbs on my pants. That's just how it is. It's a good one today. Oh my God, I have so much chocolate on my face. You see? You see? Could I get any less aesthetic? I probably have croissant in my teeth while I'm saying that. So on these pants, I wanted the hem stitching to be invisible from the outside, so I did a catch stitch. It feels kind of weird to do because while you stitch forwards, you're moving backwards along the hem. Of course, I'm sewing these black pants with black thread, so it's pretty hard to see. So it's like, this is just hemming and also you can't see it, so why did I even include it in the video? Because I needed to get it done, that's why. Let me know, is this how you finish off stitching? Because that's something I tend to get wrong, is sometimes my stitching will unravel because I haven't done a good enough job with the knot at the end. So I'm gonna do 1, 2. I'm gonna do that again. And then I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna bury the thread because I think that's where I go wrong. I think I trim it too close to the knot and then trim it so that the knot doesn't unravel. God, that took very little time. I really should have done that sooner. I think next I want to tackle Tom's jumper. This one is 100% merino and it's an incredibly fine thread that this has been knit with. Like, I'm just not going to be able to find wool that thin. What I have got, you can't really tell on camera, but these are a pretty close match. So I'm going to see if I can untwist this so that it would just be a little bit closer to the size of the thread on the actual jumper. We're going to try and make this as invisible as possible. I'll do my best. So this was a mini skein that I picked up at an op shop. I wish knitwear came with some darning thread like they sometimes include those spare buttons. I use this one because I think it's important to match the fiber content, particularly as this is a machine washable wool jumper. If I just used cotton embroidery floss, it certainly would have been easier than unraveling this, but the fibers might have reacted to washing differently, which could result in puckering. This really didn't want to unravel. Also, I'm not suggesting that you do this. The twist is what makes the yarn strong, and I was concerned about weakening it by doing this. Haha. For this one, I'm gonna try my new cardigan needles. Oh, you know what? If I read the Japanese, subtle flex, I have been doing Duolingo for a year and I can sound out some of the characters. That is Kogin. Or is it G? Kojin? I think it's Kojin, all right? Someone let me know. In my defense, I normally have Duolingo on silent. God, this thing makes it so much easier. Oh my God, these are such tiny little stitches. In case you can't tell already, this is gonna be a challenging one. Oh, I should have put this on something. I'm gonna find a jar. I'll be back. You won't know. I don't know why I always tell you that. Okay, I'm back. As far as I can tell, we want something that's gonna maintain the tension on this. These stitches are so tiny and so difficult to see. I had to work quite slowly and closely, apparently, foreshadowing the kind of footage we're gonna have for this repair, I fear. See, look how tiny. Oh look, filming me seems to have thought of that and moved the camera. Nice work past me. Also, I'm kind of torn with how to present this footage to you because if I speed it up, it's not very cozy, but if I leave it in real time, oh boy is it tedious to watch. The funny thing is, it's not tedious to do. Well, okay, maybe this tiny one was a little bit. But in general, darning is really enjoyable and relaxing. Probably should have explained what I'm doing, shouldn't I? First of all, I don't know why I did the vertical stitches first. On the first project, I did the horizontal stitches first, which I think is what you're supposed to do, but for some reason I did vertical for all the other repairs. Basically, I started with anchoring the stitches around the holes, leaving longer strands over the holes. We want to make sure the anchoring stitches are far enough in from the damage so that they're secure. Then the idea is you go back through with horizontal stitches, weaving them over the hole. We didn't get around to that straight away though because the thickness of the thread is a lot more obvious now that I'm going horizontally. So I think I'm actually going to undo this and separate it into one strand for the horizontal. Separating the yarn into single strands was even trickier than splitting it before, and now I really had reduced the strength. It actually did break at one point while I was darning. I also switched to a smaller needle for this as well because the cardigan needle was struggling to get through the tiny stitches. Also, this is not meant to be a jump scare. Did you see that? Did you see that little spider just come down from the camera? Okay, so my foreshadowing was correct with the footage on this one. It was so hard to find shots that weren't obscured by my head, obscured by my hands, or out of focus because of my stupid hands being in the way. Please enjoy the best shots I could get of this. Also, please enjoy Alf enjoying a sunbeam. Just went looking for my mic that is attached to my chest. So here is the plan for these ones. So you know what, I'm gonna put them down. So we're only gonna repair to here. This is a lost cause where I think initially this was closed and it's probably why someone chopped it out, but we're gonna prevent it from ripping any further because if I leave the shorts as they are, eventually they're just going to fray that entire way up and then just be flaps on my legs instead of shorts. So I've got some cotton fabric here and I wanna use this style where it's the crisscrosses. Now, I'm not gonna use, I might draw out some grid lines using some fabric chalk. As we may have learnt on my last one, I can't sew very straight. Also, I should have mentioned that I picked up this gorgeous Sashiko thread. It's made in Japan. It is 100% cotton and it is specifically for this kind of repair. So yay. Sorry, I didn't know what else to say. I don't know how to finish that. I cut out our reinforcement patches to fit behind the tears. I sewed a rolled hem onto the patch and then pinned it in place, and then I cut the hem off because I thought it looked weird. I put in tacking stitches around the tear and the edge of the patch so that it won't move and bunch weirdly while we're doing our Sashiko stitches. Okay, so we have our basting stitches around the edge of the tear and also around the edge of our patch. That way the fabric won't move around while we're stitching it, although I'm assuming that VoiceOver Me already covered that. Yes, that's correct. Great. So now I am going to get my ruler and I'm just going to do some grid lines to guide me a little bit because I have a feeling I will do this really messy if I freehand it. I didn't know what size to make the grid, so I just did it 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. I have a scary feeling that the needle I got is the wrong kind. I didn't buy a Sashiko needle, I bought a Kojin needle. I'm wondering if that is not ideal considering this is denim and maybe it should be sharper to actually get through it because it's quite strong and tough. Okay, so I looked it up and Kojin is a type of Sashiko. It appears to be thicker as it was originally used for closing up gaps in coarsely woven hemp. Hence the not being super sharp and why I am struggling with this denim, which is of course very tightly woven. I don't like it. Maybe I should have practiced this. So recently my internet friend Darla Tea Garden, artist, lovely person, sent me a little care package. And by little, I mean extravagant care package. She sent me a lot of really cool, interesting stuff. And one of the things she sent me was this vintage little needle set. This needle here is pretty much as long as my cardigan needles, but it's thinner and sharper. I'm gonna give that a go. Isn't that cool? Oh my gosh, that goes through so much easier. This needle made such a huge difference. I love that the needle I required for this project was sent to me only a couple of weeks before, all the way from Texas from a lovely artist friend who is extremely talented. You should check her out. I think that looks better. They're not super neat, but I'm trying my best and this is a new skill and we have to be nice to ourselves. I'm gonna keep going. This is probably gonna be my evening, I think. And that was it for the rest of the evening. I swear I'm having fun. That's just what my face looks like. Good morning. I thought I'd change it up a bit by sitting here for the morning intro. I don't think it's working. We're gonna press on though. I made it this far last night. I'm putting all of these stitches on and I was like, this is taking way longer than I thought it would. And then I realized I didn't need to make it go that far out. Why did I do that? I did it to the edge of the fabric and I was really concerned about getting it to the edge of the fabric. And then I realized I could have just done it along the edge here and then trimmed the fabric off. That would have made a lot more sense. That's a whoops. I honestly think it probably would have looked better if it had just kind of gone around the border of the tear. But this is what we've done. I'm gonna continue this for the rest of the morning, I assume. First side is done. They got way smaller up here and I tried to on purpose make them a bit big. Oh, hello. Hi, bunny. He's my good boy. Hello. Good job. Does he want a treasure for playing? Okay, all right, hang on, I have to give him a treasure. Anyway, I am not gonna rule grid lines for okay. I'm not gonna bother ruling grid lines for this side. I'm just gonna do it by side. Okay, I gotta go. I have to give him a treasure. Good job, bunny. I feel like right after Alfie was being really cute is as good a time as any to remind you to like the video if you're enjoying it and subscribe if you haven't, because how else are you going to guarantee adorable Alf footage in your subscription feed? You just can't. No other channel is offering that, and that's a fact. Oh my God, my fingers. The shorts are done. My thumb and forefinger, where like you grab the needle, yeah, it's a bit of work to get it through the denim. So, what should we do next? I'm gonna go grab my yarn stash. This is our first lot. Okay, now obviously this isn't my full stash, but some are put aside for a different project and some colors won't work with this. So let's have a look. It's like shopping, but at home with things I already bought. So it's free. So first of all, I have this one here, which I think is fairly thin. Maybe it's a 4-ply. It's obviously way thicker than what this jumper has, but it's as thin as I've got. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna patch up that little hole with this because then I'm gonna dye the whole lot and we'll see what happens. For the exciting part, we have all of these. So this is our cardigan. We're using the floor. We could go like a forest green. I think like straight black is maybe too much. Oh, orange could be fun. All right, tell you what, I'm just actually gonna pick out my favorites and we'll choose from there because this is too hard to do one-handed. Did not choose. That's my elf mouth. Enjoying a sunbeam. It's nice, huh? This is like the more neutral palette. This is giving me like forest bog wench vibes. But then down here, this gives me like whimsy goth vibes, right? I don't know. I think the purple is calling to me. It's so weird, but we're just gonna do it. No procrastinating. Oh, also I found a different wool. I forgot that I picked this one up from Draper's. It is very thin, so we'll use that one for darning the green jumper. So we might start with that because it'll be a little bit easier and that gives me more time to second guess this decision. Yay. I was just about to grab the jar to do our darning and I found the little jumping spider, and I swear to God, this is one of the tiniest spiders I've ever seen. So I'm gonna give you the timestamp. Unbelievably minuscule. Look at how tiny. Can you see it? It's so tiny. My disgusting fingernail for comparison. Wait, I found a solution. We'll use one of my fake nails. Look at how small. Yeah, you should be outside. And we're back. No more spider. It's so little. Gonna ease into it with... I didn't finish that sentence. Hopefully doing a simple and not too time consuming. I didn't finish that sentence either. It's Friday afternoon. And I really want to buy a house in Skyrim. I have enough money now to buy the house in Riften. I just need them to let me. Like I'm not Thane yet. I still haven't found a goldfish for the little girl in Whiterun. This repair was so much easier and more satisfying to do with this much finer thread, ridiculously more so, which is funny because I didn't learn from this experience and I go on to use a really chunky thread in another repair. At least editing me has been able to learn from it. I also love how this looks with the contrasting thread, but that's not gonna last because I'm silly and we're gonna dye this once again. It's literally my favorite repair and heads up, we're gonna ruin it. I definitely feel like I am getting better at the darning. That one was so much quicker and it's cuter as well. I feel really bad, I shouldn't have done Thomas's one so early. Moving on to our cardigan, I'm gonna start on the back because that's a little less obvious and we're doing it, we're committing, we're using purple, we're using color, very scary. Immediately struggling to pull the yarn through. This yarn is so much thicker than what you're meant to darn with. And yet I continue to try. Also, this is the top-down footage we have. Whoops. Oh my God, I just realized that my top camera wasn't even pointing at what I'm doing. Then I just didn't turn the top camera on at all. It's like they didn't watch WandaVision. I have good news. I became Thane of Riften and I got to buy a house, but then I realized that I actually do have the Hearthfire expansion, so I could have built the Lakeview Manor. So I don't know, I'm gonna have to figure that out. But also, the dye arrived. This is a little scary to use because it is a hot dye. We have to put it in like lukewarm water and then bring it up to temperature. And we have to move it slightly, but not too much, because if we move it too much, it'll felt. And if we don't move it enough, then we'll end up with splotches. So let's get to it. I remembered to soak the jumper beforehand, go me. Where am I gonna put it now that it's wet and this is the dyeing pot? I'll get the lid. Ow, it's all good, I found a bucket. I also hit my shoulder on the cupboard. It's very different colors. Yeah, it's not completely wet. That's so interesting. I can see why you have to do this step now. I forgot to weigh the jumper. Oh no. Okay, I'll weigh the other one and hopefully they're similar. So we probably need 3 heaped teaspoons, except I don't have a teaspoon that is suitable for measuring out dye. This will be our sacrificial spoon that is now for dyeing. Please don't destroy my jumper. I think I'm, Jesus. I am a little bit concerned because there is some liquid underneath the pot. Why is it sizzling? Can liquid just like absorb through a pot? All right, really gotta be careful when stirring the fabric. Whoops. I don't actually know what temperature I got the dye bath up to because I don't have a thermometer that I was willing to sacrifice to the fabric dyeing gods. So I just waited until it was steaming quite a bit and then set my timer for 30 minutes. I think I moved/folded the fabric like 3 or 4 times during that, and then I turned the heat off. The key is not to shock the wool, so it needs to cool down naturally as well. If it's not obvious, while I waited for that to happen, I kept darning holes in the cardigan. So you remember how that purple yarn is really chunky? The main problem with that is when it came time to weave in the ends, it made some really thick sections and I was worried about how comfy that would be on, say, my back. I decided to use the charcoal yarn, which is softer and finer, to embroider stars over the smaller holes, and I absolutely love it. Also, it took hours for the dye bath to cool down, so eventually I moved to the couch to watch a bit of TV while I embroidered. Wow. You might notice very little dye leaking out. Oh my God, what a comeback. That is crazy. That's a black jumper. It's a black jumper with tiny little blue, green, and red speckles. This is amazing. This opens up so many possibilities. I'm gonna dye so much stuff black, you have no idea. On that really positive note, I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Good morning. I feel like whenever I wear a turtleneck, I have to wear my hair down because otherwise I look like the Theranos lady. It just happens whenever I wear this turtleneck. Hang on, I'll show you. I know that like I'm not blonde with blue eyes, but it still just has the vibe. Holding the tablet, the little... Do you know what? Now it's up, I'm just gonna leave it. This morning I got started on dyeing the blue cashmere jumper. Reminder, this is what it looks like. Sorry I filmed it in the hallway, I don't know, the lighting's better there. I also wanted to do a little experiment because the jumper that we dyed the other day, was that yesterday? Yes, yesterday. It didn't pick up the color in the blue, red, and green speckles. I also chucked in this ball of pure wool in green. This brown one, I honestly don't know what color this is. It's like a purpley brown. It is 80% wool, 20% nylon. And so I wanna see if it will dye some of it and it's patchy like throughout, or if it won't dye it at all. So I just threw them in whole because those ones are for a project that I'm gonna be starting very soon where it doesn't really matter what color they are, so just give it a go. So I did decide to sacrifice a mug to the dyeing fabrics gods because I don't think I'm done with dyeing stuff now that we've had an actual success. That is on the heat at the moment. I have set alarms so that I will go and check on it and not just leave it all day. And I thought for now, we could work on that cardigan. You can tell which one it is. Oh, no. Do you want to go outside? There's just a dead fish there. Oh, it's a bit chilly, bit windy. Yeah, that's what I thought. At least you tried. At this stage with the cardigan, I had covered all of the holes, but now I wanted to add some more stars and decorative bits kind of think of a better word than bits, just to make it look a bit more purposeful and balanced because the holes were kind of concentrated in particular spots. I also decided to add a bit of accent color to the black jumper. I'm experimenting with wearing a bit more color and it turns out the cuff also needed reinforcing. So all the mending is done and we still have a couple of hours until the wool cools down so I can actually drain and check how our last batch of dyeing went. So you know what that means. How do people make their coffee making footage be so relaxing? Because that was a mess, it's loud, and my coffee machine is disgusting. Oh man, I didn't have the ×2 button on. This is my garden. These are my where'd you go? These are my chickens. This is my little pets, the best part of my house right here. I have my own fishing spot. Oh my God, we got the goldfish. This is huge. We need to go straight to Mila in Whiterun. We found her.
Should I keep him?
You can say no way, I just wanted you to see it. Follow her. Where are we putting it? Look, that's where she's keeping it, in this little trough. Adorable, and she paid me 1 gold for it. This has been the best. Once again, we have an amazingly black jumper, but look at how much dye came out of the balls of wool. My favorite thing about that jumper is how soft it is. The yarn that I am repairing these items with really needs to match the weight. And I definitely do not have any cashmere yarn in all of this. And so I really want to do a good job of repairing that jumper. You know, I've put in the effort to dye it twice now. So I have actually ordered that from Knitting for Olive. So that's coming from Copenhagen, I think. So I am not going to be able to finish that one in time for this video. I will share the results in a short or on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram if you don't already. Not that I post that much because, you know, social media is pretty garbage. Why am I so close to the camera? Sorry, that's weird. I think it's time that we can go on to the final results. Let's get into it. Tomorrow, I'm not going to do it right now. Actually, I'm going to go make dinner and then I'm going to deal with all this tomorrow. This is the jumper that we dyed yesterday. This was the blue cashmere jumper. This dye is bonkers, just crazy. So happy with it. This is the one that was 20% nylon and was kind of like a browny purpley color. And this is the one that was, I want to say green. They both took to the dye. I don't know how long this is going to take to dry. I didn't think about that before I started. This one that was green initially came out as a slightly cooler black, and this one came out as a kind of warmer black. I'm so happy. This jumper here had the threadbare elbow because I have had it for an exceptionally long time. I love this patch. I am learning through doing this process that I really prefer the repairs where the color is at least kind of different to what you're working with to provide a bit of a contrast, because it shows that you're not trying to hide the repair. It's just, it is what it is. I love it. I am almost excited for other parts of the jumper to wear through so that I can keep doing this. The black trousers, I hemmed them. Like, we don't need to talk about it. Didn't need to be in the video. I just needed to get that done. Glad I did. Thomas's green jumper. From a distance, you can't see the repair, and I'm glad it is repaired because that means the hole won't get worse, but I kind of wish I had done a contrasting color. I think that this would have been better if I had gotten an incredibly fine black thread. We've learnt now. We know for future. Wish I hadn't learnt it on one of Tom's expensive merino jumpers, but here we are. I'm not unhappy with it, I'm just the least happy with this one. But you know which one I am happy about? The Sashiko repair. I love how this looks. It hurt to do. I definitely want to get some thimbles for doing this again, like the soft thimbles for grabbing and pulling the needle. I think it looks cool. I'm so happy I chose the gray thread. I am definitely going to do more Sashiko style repairs in the future. Just really happy with it. This is the other cashmere jumper that I dyed. Beyond thrilled. This is a brand new jumper. I am 100% going to wear this way more than the color that it was before. And last one, my kind of whimsy goth vibes cardigan, super slouchy and comfy. I think you're gonna see this in a lot of videos coming up. I'm really happy with it. This has been great. I'm so happy. It feels like taking something back from capitalism, you know? To be able to rework stuff that exists that has holes in it. I don't have the words. God, I am inarticulate. But do you get the vibe of what I am saying?
It's the vibe of it.
It feels a little bit like a crafting rebellion, you know? It's my little piece of rebellion against the consumerist hellscape that we're in. Sorry. Let me know if you do repairs on your clothes. Let me know if you are considering doing repairs on your clothes. I'm obsessed with this. All right, I will see you next time, and I'm gonna keep doing repairs. Bye.